There are growing concerns over China's accelerated expansion of missile silos in their remote western region that could be used to house nuclear tipped missiles capable of reaching the US. Meanwhile, also in China, we've seen harrowing footage emerging from Shanghai showing desperate people who have run out of food and essential supplies as China locks down millions of people in a futile attempt to stop the spread of Omicron. Joining me now to discuss is the Director of Defence Strategy and National Security Program at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Michael Shoebridge. Michael, the American military officials and security analysts have expressed fears that China's nuclear acceleration could mean it could be willing to make a surprise nuclear strike. Hopefully there's no truth to that. What is your expert opinion?
Well, Rita, Beijing has made an art of being opaque about its nuclear weapons capabilities and about how it might use them during conflict. It's got a no first use policy, but frankly, no one believes it. And it's accelerating the number and variety of its nuclear weapons. That does nothing but add to these concerns.
Well, there are estimates that China's nuclear arsenal is in the low hundreds of warheads, but that arsenal is expected to grow to 1,000 warheads by the end of the decade. And the report also indicates that Chinese leaders see a stronger nuclear arsenal as a way to deter the US from getting directly involved in a potential conflict over Taiwan. Can you see that as motivation for them to increase their arsenal?
Well, yes, but you're right. First off, that China is already doing everything it can to build up its nuclear weapons numbers and variants. So, submarine launched missiles, the ground based missiles that you're referring to, they're building a very large number of new silos and also developing its strategic bomber delivery system. It was doing all that before Ukraine, and in fact, it keeps outpacing US assessments. Now, Ukraine probably makes it even more likely China's going to double down on this dangerous path because they see that Putin seems to have deterred US and NATO forces from being active in Ukraine and limited what the West's doing to support Ukraine. So that's the new factor here. But it all is based on the fact that China is deliberately opaque about these dangerous weapons.
And would that be a successful strategy if they do increase that arsenal and the US fears that they may use their nuclear weapons to strike the US? Will they back away from getting more involved if China invades Taiwan?
Well, I think it's worth the decision makers in Beijing remembering one big, simple fact. The Americans are the only nation to have used nuclear weapons in war. So the idea that the US doesn't have the political will is just an historical mistake. And it would be unwise for Beijing to make that mistake. And we've also got to remember that the Soviets and the Americans took years to both understand the value in arms control and transparency to each other. Beijing has to start down that path, and the sooner it does, the safer it and the rest of us will be.